VR motion sickness is a but just like any other out there are multiple ways that can help you beat it.
Yeah, boy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about motion sickness and how you can finally overcome this super frustrating obstacle. I know because I've been there, and more on my personal experience later. But first of all, I don't think you need me to explain to you what VR motion sickness is, right? I mean, if you clicked on this video, then you know exactly what it is. It's feeling sick when playing VR games, feeling dizzy, nauseous, your head hurts, your stomach hurts, you feel like you're about to throw up, you get the idea. So what can you do to overcome this VR motion sickness? Well, if you follow these tips that I'm about to share with you, I promise you, you will be able to build your VR legs and motion sickness will be a thing of the past. So the first thing I'd recommend you do if you experience motion sickness while playing VR games is to simply take it easy. Start with stationary games, play seated preferably, start with simple games like Tetris Effect for example, get acquainted with VR first before diving into the heavy stuff. Play in short bursts of time, like let's say play for 5 minutes, and then take a 1 minute break, and then when you start feeling better and more confident, you can gradually increase your playtime and decrease your resting time until you don't need to take a break anymore. And if you're playing on PSVR 2, start with games that run at a native 90 FPS minimum, stay away from games that use reprojection, like the Resident Evil games for example, besides the fact that these are both physically and mentally intense and exhausting games, they also use reprojection, and trust me, if you're experiencing motion sickness, reprojection will only make it worse, like tenfold worse. And I'm speaking from personal experience here. I have a horrible story regarding reprojection and other factors that I'm about to share with you guys in just a second, so just bear with me here. Another effective tip, and obviously this goes without saying, use comfort settings. See what works for you, what makes you feel more comfortable, and enable it. This can be in the form of vignette or snap turning or teleportation even. For me it was snap turning, and always, if possible, try to turn physically instead of using the analog stick. This is probably one of the easiest way to ensure that you don't get motion sickness at all. And by the way, don't force it. As soon as you start feeling that motion sickness, you must stop immediately. If you don't, it will get worse, like significantly worse. And here's the story that I mentioned earlier. You see, there was this one time that I tried to force myself to play a game that has reprojection with smooth turning enabled. I lasted for about 30 seconds before I started to feel sick, but I didn't stop there. I kept pushing through for like an additional 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then of course everything went to and I just couldn't play anymore. So I put down the headset, lay down in my bed, take some rest, and you know what? I wasn't feeling extremely horrible. I mean sure, I was feeling nauseous, but it was nothing I haven't felt before, you know what I'm saying? What happened in the next morning though, now that was a first, and unfortunately, not a very good one. You see, I literally could not leave my bed for like half an hour. During those 30 minutes of hell, every time I tried to even sit, not even stand, I immediately felt my head spinning. I am certain that if I tried to force myself to stand up back then, I would have found myself laying on the floor. So seriously guys, I cannot stress this enough. Do not force it. You'll only make things worse. Now there are also some extra tips that I haven't tried myself to be honest, but some say it did help them beat motion sickness. These tips include using a blowing fan right in front of your face, taking some ginger before playing, and staying hydrated while you're playing. Some people suggest taking some anti-motion sickness drugs or smoking weed even, but obviously I don't think that's necessary nor a good idea. If you follow the other natural tips that I mentioned, you should be good to go. For me it was pretty simple. 2 things made me beat motion sickness: snap turning and patience. At first I used snap turning in all games, and then after a couple of months I tried using smooth turning in a game that doesn't have reprojection. Vampire the Masquerade Justice, brilliant game by the way. It runs at a native 90Hz, so I said why not give it a shot, and surprisingly, it worked. I was playing without any issues, and I was so happy that day. But of course it can't be all rainbows and sunshines, because after I was done playing that game, I tried playing Firewall Ultra with smooth turning, which is a game that uses reprojection, and I ended up not being able to leave my bed for half an hour in the next morning as I just told you. After a couple of weeks of playing with smooth turning enabled, in games that run at a native 90Hz or 120Hz, I went back again to Firewall Ultra, and this time it was a success. And that was the moment that I finally beat motion sickness for good. I now play all my PSVR 2 games with smooth turning enabled for hours without any issues. So that was my personal experience with VR motion sickness, and those were my tips. I hope they help you build your VR legs as soon and as easy as possible, but I'm interested to know what you guys think of this. Did you experience motion sickness before? And if so, how did you actually beat it? Let me know in the comments below. And that's gonna do it for this video, guys. As always, if you enjoyed it, if you found it informative, be sure to leave the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, take care.